Good morning, everyone. Good morning, UTLA family, parents, and community members. It's been 7 months since we first closed up our classrooms and offices. No matter how good we have gotten at Zoom sessions and synchronous teaching, educators and students are aching for our physical classrooms. On social media this week, Arleta High School teacher, Nicole Patin, posted old photos of an amazing Latinx heritage gallery she created with her social justice ambassadors back in 2018. Nicole said that this is the kind of hands-on project she is really missing with her students. Nicole's plea to folks: please wear a mask, wash your hands, and vote yes on Proposition 15 so we can do this again someday. Yes, Nicole, we feel that and it resonates. Today, I'll be sharing the results of the UTLA member survey on distance learning and reopening and updates on our campaign for Proposition 15 and our school board candidates. First, a bargaining update. We continue to bargain with LAUSD on the safe reopening of schools, but a return is not imminent, and LAUSD has not put forward any dates or a timeline for reopening. Let me repeat myself. A physical return is not imminent. We have some rogue or perhaps overeager principals out there who are spreading disinformation. Disinformation creates anxiety and chaos. Please watch out for these rumors and stamp them out as we go along. There have been no formal proposals presented yet by either side. We formed 6 subgroups to work on various essential issues such as special education and early learners. These subgroups will start meeting next week. We are having these discussions with the district so that when science tells us that it's safe to return, we will be ready to do so. We will not return until the necessary precautions and protocols are in place and until health metrics and public health officials tell us that it's safe. There are cautionary tales all around about the hazards of reopening schools too soon. This week, Boston schools abruptly reverted back to distance learning after COVID rates rose in the city and close to a dozen teachers and staff were infected. We need to get this right, with health and science leading the way. Next Wednesday, we'll be having a special Facebook Live session with a noted epidemiologist and members of our UTLA bargaining team to talk about the metrics of a safe reopening. I hope you will join us for that. Now, the results of our UTLA survey. Last month, we asked members a number of questions on distance learning and the safe reopening of schools, and close to 13,000 of you responded. Here are the top line takeaways. I'll be throwing out some numbers out here, but know that we'll also put a link to the survey results in the chat below. As far as distance learning, the survey shows that UTLA teachers and health and human service professionals are working long hours to deliver for our students. 91% of members are working beyond contract hours to produce robust distance learning for students. And more than 1/3 of those members are working 10 hours or more each day. 77% of our members are confident that they are providing effective instruction or services. The top reasons for students missing class is connectivity issues. And the main areas where educators feel they need additional support are family engagement, using technology, supporting students with IEPs, supporting English language learners, and supporting students' social, emotional needs. As far as reopening schools, the survey shows that UTLA members take the virus seriously and are concerned about a rushed reopening. 82% of members are concerned about moving too quickly to reopen schools, risking the safety of students, families, and teachers. 88% of members would want to continue with crisis distance learning if an outbreak was likely upon reopening. 31% of members don't want to return until there is a vaccine or until there is a herd immunity, which cannot happen without a vaccine. 31% are willing to return if they understood the safety precautions and contractual language that LAUSD will comply with to reasonably ensure the safety of employees and students. Members are concerned about the race and class inequities of the pandemic, with 81% saying testing should be equitable across racial, ethnic, economic groups before schools reopen, and 75% responding that all essential workers should have increased workplace protections, including PPE and paid sick leave. So those are some of the facts and figures of our UTLA member survey, but we know the story of crisis distance learning can't be measured by numbers alone. This week, chapter co-chair Leandra Burke at Eagle Rock Elementary brought that home with a powerful email to UTLA's leadership team. Leandra wrote with precision and with passion about how exhausted educators are. Most of her colleagues are waking up before the crack of dawn to prepare for the day and then working until 11 p.m. with only a short break for dinner. The staff is raising their voice collectively to address unreasonable mandates and make the distance learning agreement work best for teachers and students. But organizing together takes energy and focus, and Zoom fatigue is real. The teachers are worried about plans to reopen schools, colleagues with underlying health issues, and specifics about how a hybrid schedule might work. Leandra is frustrated by the district pushed assessments, especially in special education, that drain teaching time. Leandra says her students need humor, kindness, and wonderful teaching, not test after test after test. Leandra is thankful to have our union because she sees many industries out there that are not represented and that are truly suffering because of it. And I'll read her entire closer because it is so right on. Leandra writes, "We are not superheroes. I hear that term often, painting teachers as being superheroes. Please, to whoever is passing out capes or magic wands, I really need one right now. We are just hardworking, caring, dedicated teachers. We are overworked and underpaid, and now more than ever, I really resent being referred to as a superhero, as it leaves the illusion that we'll just keep on taking it. So just give teachers more duties, reduce their training pay rate, invite them to optional meetings, let them volunteer on numerous committees, and the list could go on and on. I feel that I am being chipped away little by little, and this situation will be the final crack that will reduce many of our greatest educators into a pile of broken pieces. Leandra, thank you for penning folks' feelings at this very moment. As we connect with members on a 24/7 basis, we are asking how things are going. We bring all of your stories to the bargaining table. Your lived reality is why we negotiated the crisis distance learning agreements and why we're back at work at the bargaining table. Thank you. I had a great round of school visits this week, virtually connecting with members across the district. At Yes Academy, chapter chair Sylvia Romero talked about missing her students. Zoom is not a substitute for a room full of smiling faces. Princetta Chavis Davis talked about trying to find that elusive home-work-life balance. At Huntington Park High School, some teachers shared honestly about feeling overwhelmed and having to continually revamp their curriculum. Itinerant music teacher Kelly Anthony shared the sadness she feels because students who have normally excelled in music want to quit because of crisis distance learning. And she really wants to figure out how she can help with students' social, emotional needs. Thank you, Saul Langster, for putting the visit together. At 156th Street School, teacher Karen Mikamo shared the support she's feeling from her students' parents. And she said that she has had 100% student attendance since starting school. That is so great to hear. And shout out to Miss V, a special ed teacher who is learning new techniques for engaging her students in this new environment. Thanks to 156th Street chapter chair Jasmine Phillips for putting the visit together. Chapter chair Gregoria Covarrubias is doing a fantastic job leading the staff at Woodcrest Elementary and pushing on unnecessary administration mandates. Liz Porter shared what sounds like an amazing project, a Bitmoji classroom she's created with colleagues so her students feel more engaged. Like at so many other schools, the staff is facing the extreme challenge of juggling work demand and home demands. Mercedes Hodges, a single mother of two, spoke for so many of us when she said she wants more mom time. Mercedes Giovanni asked me this all the time too. We are 11 days away from the election, folks. This is the final sprint, our last chance to make a difference in passing Proposition 15 and electing Scott Schmerelson and Patricia Castellanos to the school board. We're expanding our phone banking on weekends, hours from noon to 8. We will phone bank until we win. So please sign up at lateacherschoice.org/campaign now, and it'll be in the chat below. We've talked a lot about Prop 15 and how it will help fill the giant hole blown through our state budget by the economic fallout of COVID-19. During the last recession in 2008, schools were forced into waves of layoffs, huge class size increases, and deep spending cuts. History will repeat itself if we don't do something. A progressive, game-changing measure like Prop 15 only comes around once in a generation. We have a chance to finally fix a decades-old corporate tax loophole that has starved our students of needed resources. And Prop 15 completely protects homeowners and renters as confirmed by California's Attorney General. In the avalanche of paid ads, it's hard for voters to know what's going on. That's where we come in. When we talk to voters, they listen. Our phone bank numbers show that over 70% of all voters we talk to end up supporting Prop 15 and both of our school board candidates. I love what El Camino Real high school teacher Kaina Collins tweeted this week about the school board elections. Kaina urged everyone to look at who is behind the LAUSD board races and think long and hard about why they're spending so much money. That is so true. Voters need to think long and hard about why millionaires like Reed Hastings of Netflix and the Waltons of Walmart are spending record amount of money, over $10 million and counting, in the local LAUSD school board races. The reason? To advance their agenda to defund public schools, expand unregulated charter operators, and remake education as a profit center for ed tech. Our phone calls to voters help them connect the dots. Voters need to hear the teacher's choice for the election. Scott Schmerelson and Patricia Castellanos. Scott and Patty are committed to putting our neighborhood schools first, not the corporate agenda. We need to have more conversations with voters. Like I said, we are phone banking until we win. Phone banking is happening every weekday from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. and every weekend from noon till 8 p.m. Let's get on those phones, everyone. This isn't a case of saying to yourself that someone else will do it. We all need to phone bank to win for our schools and our students. Join your colleagues and sign up to phone bank today. We'll put the link in the chat below. And speaking of the election, we have to talk about what Trump is up to. After abusing the office of the presidency for nearly 4 years to enrich himself and his friends, Trump is trying to bully and cheat his way through an election he knows he's losing. By every measure, the race favors Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and Trump knows it. Trump and his enablers hope that by amplifying cynicism and dividing us through demagogic appeals to racism and ultra-nationalism, they can stop us from coming together as voters. We'll put some links in the chat to some of the media reports on how Trump is signaling that he will seize power whether he wins the 2020 election or not. This includes Trump trying to rush through the Supreme Court justice confirmation, so the court is stacked 6-3 in his favor. If it has to rule on a tight election, how do we respond to these unprecedented threats to our democracy? Step one is to vote, if you haven't already. Check in with friends and family about their voting too. With Trump doing all he can to sow chaos about the voting process, you may need to reassure folks you know that voting is safe and reliable. Step two is to be vigilant. If Trump does not accept the results of the election, we must all be ready to participate in local and national calls to action to ensure the will of the people is honored in this election. Educators and unions are uniquely positioned to organize to do what we can to ensure that every vote is counted and that a new government is sworn in by and for us. I have had conversations with friends who say that Trump is all bluster and he won't, in the end, try to subvert democracy. But I say that we disbelieve Trump at our own peril. Hopefully, none of this will come to pass, but we need to be prepared for any outcome. Now, I want to spotlight a documentary that is a must-see. Last year, I sat on a panel with the author, Monique Morris, discussing the criminalization of Black girls. The documentary is called Push Out: The Criminalization of Black Girls in Schools. And it's based on the book by the same name. The film takes a deep dive into the troubling reality that Black girls in America are more likely than white girls to be suspended, physically restrained, and arrested in schools. And it's not because they misbehave more than their peers, but because their behaviors are judged more harshly. Push Out gives context to this crisis while providing a roadmap for how our educational system can provide a positive rather than punitive response to behaviors that are often misunderstood or misrepresented. We'll put a link to the documentary's info page in the chat below. There's also a discussion guide for educators. I am moved beyond words from the maker of Push Out, Monique W. Morris. She says, "We are in a battle for the soul of Black girls. I want people to walk away from this documentary understanding, number one, that our girls are not disposable, and to really think about how we can shift our understanding of what constitutes a bad attitude or sassiness or combativeness. How can educators, parents, and policymakers demonstrate that we love our girls and hold them and their educational opportunities as sacred to our community?" I believe that with all my heart. And I want to close on a sad and somber note. Yesterday, we heard the tragic news of the death of Jose Caillo, a beloved and inspiring math teacher at Miguel Contreras Learning Complex. His death resonates with us in a time when sadness and isolation can seem to be all enveloping. But let's remember his love of teaching. According to his family, Jose dedicated his life to teaching, to activism, to humanity, and putting a smile on everyone's face. His presence was so bright when he would walk into a room. This is a tragedy for those who knew him and loved him. This feels raw, and it's truly heart-wrenching. Our hearts are with Jose's loved ones, his family, his friends, and his students. May you comfort each other. Please consider donating to the family's GoFundMe page for his funeral expenses. We'll put a link in the chat below. Until next time, UTLA, be well. Be well. Take care of yourself, family. Protect your health and your spirit. After the close of business today, do something for you. Stay UTLA strong, because together we rise.